there's explosions and gunfire going on down the street.
My house.
Unbelievable video there. It was about a minute of gunfire exchange between those two suspects and law enforcement in Watertown. Andrew, it seems like that must have been terrifying, and all of this was unfolding right outside your window. What was that moment like?
It was absolutely terrifying. We heard the gunfire and heard a couple gunshots. I'm here with 3 of my roommates, and we were all, a couple of them were already sleeping. The gunfire started at about 12:45, and it was absolutely terrifying. And then we heard the gunfire, and exactly what the video showed, a lot of gunfire being exchanged, but then there were explosives a couple minutes later. And I actually witnessed that from my bedroom window, and it looked like they were potentially grenades or explosives of that type. And that's when it brought it to a whole nother level, and we could actually feel it. I could feel it here in the house, and it is really, really terrifying.
And of course, that whole area has understandably been on edge since Monday's bombings at the Boston Marathon. Is that something that you thought of when all of this started, that perhaps it could be related?
Prior to this, maybe an hour and a half prior, I saw on the news, I saw the push notifications on my phone about a shooting at MIT. That was the initial thought when I heard the gunfire. MIT is about 20-minute drive from my apartment, and that's what I initially thought. I actually wasn't thinking about the marathon. I was thinking about MIT since it was so recent.
And then when you saw that they had explosives, did that bring to mind everything that happened earlier this week?
Yes, absolutely. That I can't even describe when the first explosives were going off. But then from my bedroom window, when I was looking down at the shooters, I could actually see what looked like a pressure cooker bomb, similar to the ones I've seen on the internet and pictures for the last few days. And I actually saw the shooters light it and throw it towards the officers, and that explosion basically filled our entire street with smoke. And that was at that point I hit the ground. I was terrified.
Can you tell me a little bit more about the force of those explosions? You say that they filled the street with smoke. Did they appear to do any damage or injure any of the law enforcement officers that were there?
I couldn't see the officers. They were at the end of our block, which was in maybe 80 or 100 yards away. But the windows there was actually a Watertown police vehicle that crashed into our driveway, and the windows were all what seemed to be shot out. They could have been exploded from that bomb. I know there are cars in my driveway right now that have broken windows, whether those are bullet holes or from the explosion. I can't tell, but the force, it wouldn't surprise me. The force was great enough where, and I don't know if there was shrapnel, but the force was great enough where it was hitting our house.
And of course, we want to be careful not to jump to conclusions here and make sure that we have the evidence to support our reporting, but there certainly is a good deal of evidence at this point to suggest that what happened this evening is in fact related to the bombings that took place on Monday. Yesterday, authorities released these photos of the suspects in that bombing case. From your vantage point, did you see any similarities between the two people who were having this firefight with police and the photos that were released yesterday?
I couldn't make out the shooters. I couldn't identify their faces based on build. They were average size, average height, but I really couldn't make out any facial features. They didn't have very descriptive clothing, and it was relatively dark, so I couldn't make them out, and I don't want to speculate on that.
All right, Andrew, I'd like you to stand by, if you will, for just a moment, because I want to bring in NBC News' Kerry Sanders, who is live on the phone now. He is also in Watertown, and